Welcome back to the Reidel Law Firm Library and Odyssey channel. Today I want to chat a bit about sanctions compliance programs. It's becoming very important. Obviously last year this was a busy time for it. Didn't do a whole lot of content because I was just in the weeds of it. But I thought I'd take a step back and chat a little bit about the elements of a sanctions compliance program and what that means to you as an exporter or as a business involved internationally. This will be high level because a lot of the really fine details are going to be dependent on the type of industry you're in, what exactly you're doing, who you're doing business with, the risk factors involved. But we'll get into that in a minute here. So, hey, so if you want to connect with me and chat about international trade, check out the description below. Visit my website. I got a instant messenger chat there that's secured on my own server, so you don't have to email me or anything. If you want to chat about something sensitive, ping me. Let's chat. And if I can help you getting any goods across borders and making sure that your exports or imports are compliant and keeping you away from detentions and seizures, give me a ring. Let's chat about it, see how I can help. So jumping in, the elements of a sanctions compliance program. So this, again, this is going to be high-level stuff. The nitty-gritty and the fine details are going to be very particular to you and what you're doing in your business. That's where somebody like me comes in, where I help you identify those risk factors and mitigate those risk factors through a compliance program. So, so let's jump in. So OFAC, the Office of Foreign Assets Control, they have some really great guidance on sanctions compliance programs. They are the agency that helps regulate sanctions. They're the ones who generate the lists, or at least one of the lists, of sanctioned parties, whether they're individuals or companies, and they also enforce those sanctions along with some other agencies too. But they will track the money, track the goods, and get you to jail if you break them. So OFAC, they've identified 5 key components for a strong sanctions compliance program. So let's go over a few of those briefly and help you wrap your head around it. So the first is management commitment. And you might recognize, so one thing before we jump into that, I'll say, if you are coming from a financial compliance world, somewhere like maybe you deal with FINRA or the SEC, or even OFAC too, like money transmitter businesses and stuff like that, these are going to be very familiar to you. If you are a sort of like a money laundering specialist with ACAMS or one of the other organizations, which I am. I'm a certified anti-money laundering specialist with ACAMS. These you'll recognize, right? Because ACAMS has adopted a variant of these for most of the financial industry as well. So, okay, let's jump back in. First element is management commitment. So what this means is that your management, your decision makers at the top, are going to have commitment and oversight and police the sanctions compliance program. That means that whatever needs to be done from the very top will get done. So why this is in here is that a lot of times in the past, businesses or companies would state they have a compliance program, right? They say they would. They'll hire a compliance manager, but then the compliance manager will recommend certain things or want to implement a program to tighten up the compliance measures. And upper management says, no, thank you. That's going to drop our sales. We appreciate it, but that's not for us because we are going to lose a lot of contracts whenever we start implementing these rules and compliance measures. And that's not what's supposed to happen. So the top should support that compliance function and give them the tools they need to ensure compliance is met and is successful and is ongoing. So that's why management commitment is there. And I'll tell you, if you don't commit to it before you get caught, you will commit to it after because you'll be forced to. Very often a factor or a part of an OFAC settlement dealing with sanctions and violations is that you will be required to pay for a third-party compliance auditor, basically. Someone like me, a trade attorney and a certified global sanctions specialist steps in and audits your compliance program, tells you what's right and what's wrong, and helps you get it on track. And that can be very expensive. A lot of times there's a portion of the fines that you would pay to OFAC is going to be earmarked to paying a third-party auditor, someone like me who comes in and helps you with that. So yeah, you're either going to do it before you get caught or you're going to do it after you get caught, and it'll be a lot more expensive after you get caught. So the next element is risk assessment. So this has to do with understanding the risks that your type of business and your operations and maybe your products and services and whatnot will have, right? The risks that you will carry in your business. And not having a good idea of the risks that you're facing means that your program probably won't be very effective, right? It's not going to have the effect that it's needed to stop the risks that you're facing. So, for example, if you are doing business in the Middle East and your compliance, program has to do with restricting sales in China or something, it's not going to be a fit, right? You're not adequately assessing the risks that you are facing, and you're not taking steps to mitigate that risk. So, for instance, in the Middle East, your risks are probably going to be transshipment. It's going to be sanctions of probably terror groups or terror financing within the Middle East, or like transshipping like to Iran or Syria or sanctioned countries. Those are the things you need to look out for. And if you're checking for end user certificates from China or whatever, you are concerned with Chinese state-owned companies, you're missing the mark. You're missing the mark, and you will not adequately be able to inform your compliance program about what to do and how to mitigate those risks. So very important there to make sure you have a risk assessment. Again, that's what compliance professionals do. Someone like myself or other sanction specialists or auditors, they can help you look at your business, look at your profile, who you do business with, what you do, how you do business, what types of shipments or payments that you're doing, and they can help you understand the risk that you specifically are facing, and then take it to the next level to mitigate those. So the next element is internal controls, and what this means is that you have a compliance program in place, and that it functions somewhat independently of the business, right? That it has authority and oversight over a multitude of departments, and sales or whomever can't override them, right? They have controls in place that ensure that the compliance program is met, that it is running, and that it's not going to be overridden or substituted because of sales, right? Or because of a big contract or something like that. And the internal controls can vary widely. This can be stuff like as simple as password protection and maybe segregating the compliance role from other functions in the company. Or it can get really complicated. In banks and money transmitter businesses, this is very sophisticated, right? Because they don't want anyone overriding it. Because once you send that money, like in a money transmitter business, it's gone, right? And you violated that sanction. So you need to make sure that it's not easy for that override to happen, right? Or for something to come in and change your compliance function or your compliance program in the company. So that is internal controls. The last couple elements here are related, so I'm going to lump them together. I think they kind of divide them out into a couple, two different sections. But anyways, the last element is testing, auditing, and training. So this is an extremely important part, and I know it's at the end, but to some extent, this is really, you're going to be front-loading a lot of this, right? Depending on where you are in your business cycle and what you have in place. If you already have a compliance program, maybe you need to get it audited, right? Is the first step, because we don't know what you do and what you should be doing until we do an audit and kind of test what you're doing. So testing, auditing, training, this is working with your compliance personnel. It's working with your systems that you've implemented and testing them, making sure they catch what they're supposed to catch. Putting out there a few dummy transactions to make sure maybe your automated system will catch it and will alert the right people, or the right people see it and do the right things. And then training, right? Making sure that your training is ongoing and it's focused. It's going to focus on your risk assessment and the risk mitigation that your company requires, and that it evolves, right? That it will teach them the basics, and then you go to advanced training, and then you refresh a little bit of the basics, but you continue refreshing advanced, and you are adding the new compliance measures out there, right? Sanctions change, international trade changes, so you need to update that and make sure that you are keeping everyone updated and aware and testing and whatnot. So that's a major part of it. Obviously, this will vary, right? This will be different if you're a company of 5 people versus a company of 500 people. So all of these are very high level, and I hope I'm giving you a good overview of that, kind of a 30,000 foot view of thinking about compliance programs and the elements of that and what you need to be aware of and thinking about. If you need help with creating a compliance program or sanctions compliance in general, give me a call. Link is in the description. Let's chat about it, see how I can help you. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.